Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Olofsson. I'm the Executive Director of Another Child Foundation, and today we're going to go through our 2019 Romania mission trip information. There will be some details on some of our trips, but a lot of this will be an overview on the trips that we generally take to Romania. So hopefully this will give you some background information about Another Child Foundation and the work we are doing there. So really what I'd like to first do is have you get to know Another Child Foundation a little bit more. Of course, you can go to our website and to our Facebook page and get more information there. But I'm going to try to give you a little bit more background on Another Child Foundation. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is, what is the task of the church? What is the task of ministries like Another Child Foundation and actually the church, or the people of the church? And really what my description, my definition of what our task is that Jesus gave to us within the New Testament of the Bible is to show people the full glory of Jesus Christ. So when people look at the church, they see the very embodiment of Jesus. They should see the one who in word and deed is bringing healing to every speck of the universe. And I think the key part of that little description there is bringing healing to every speck of the universe. And the reason I say that is because really what we're trying to do is we're trying to alleviate poverty. Typically we define poverty as lack of clothing, lack of food, lack of shelter, some of those physical items that people don't have at times. But really, poverty alleviation is the ministry of reconciliation. It's moving people closer to God by glorifying God, by living in right relationship with God, with yourself, with others, and the rest of creation. Basically what this is saying, there's 4 foundational relationships that we all need to be working on and improving. And first is our relationship with God, our Creator. We've got to be able to love our God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength. If we do that, then we have the ability to love ourselves. Because if we just look at ourselves first and all the sin that lives within us, then it's hard to love. So if we love God and understand His redemptive grace, then we have the ability to love ourselves for who we are, understanding our humanness, but also understanding the reconciliation that we have with Christ through His forgiveness. So then once we love ourselves, then we can love our others. And usually that starts within our family. And then it stretches out to our friends and others. And that's the rest of creation. 4 foundational relationships we always need to be thinking about when we're doing poverty alleviation, because this is the same goes for us, U.S. Christians, and the people that we're going to serve. Is we need to be in right relationship with God, with self, with our family and friends, and then with the rest of creation. So really the fundamental nature of poverty is a result of relationships that do not work. They're not just, they're not harmonious or enjoyable. Poverty is really the absence of grace in all its meanings. And this might be the most important thing you might hear today, you need to understand at least, is until we embrace mutual brokenness, our work with low-income people is more likely to do harm than good. Because what I always tell our mission trip people, if we're going to go over there as the haves going to serve the have-nots, the ministry is probably going to fail. We need to go over there with the thought of, I'm broken, they're broken, but together Christ reconciles. So that's what poverty alleviation is about. It's about the reconciliation of broken relationships. So from the mouths of materially poor people, they don't use lack of clothing, food, and shelter. Those are symptoms of poverty. But the root cause of poverty is really its shame, inferiority, powerlessness, humiliation, fear, hopelessness, isolation, depression. And what I see most with our children in Romania is voicelessness. The Orthodox Church, even the Christian Church, the government over there, they're struggling on how to help these people because they have a mentality of these people don't have a lot of value, that they are hopeless and they are worthless. So really these kids who go to bed nightly crying because of hungry tummies or they feel discriminated against, their cries are not being heard. So that's the reason that Another Child Foundation exists. I believe that God put us there to be the voice of these children. So when you come and join forces with Another Child Foundation, What we're trying to do is raise their voices, raise the voice of these children who find themselves forgotten in the country of Romania. So really the role of an ACF mission trip participant is simply to be an extension of what work is already being done over there by our faithful, great partners in Romania, Fundația Buckner, which is another nonprofit organization based in Romania. We partner exclusively with them, and our goal is just to simply complement the plan to change the situations of those we serve over there in Romania. So when we go over there, we are not bringing God to them. God is already there. We're just going to go to assist Fundația Buckner in the work they're already doing by giving our different perspectives and our different situations and our hearts and our love to these children. It's pretty significant for these children to understand that someone 5,000 miles away can love them. So that's what we're doing. We're just going over there to be an extension of the work already being done. So we're going to play a real quick game of Romania trivia. And this is really just to give you some background on the country of Romania. So we're going to do this kind of like through a trivia game format. So I'm going to just ask a question. Maybe you guys can just look at it. You don't really have to look at the point values here. But a lot of people don't even know what continent Romania is located. It's not in South America. It's not in Asia or Latin America. It's actually an Eastern European country. It borders a few different countries over there. Obviously, the state of Romania, or the country of Romania, is about the same size as the state of Ohio. So just to put that in perspective, you think of the state of Ohio and Cleveland and Cincinnati and those cities in there. Romania is very similar to the same size as Ohio, but kind of looks more like the Smoky Mountain region of the U.S. So it kind of looks more like West Virginia or Tennessee. So it's really a beautiful country. But so the continent Romania is located is Europe. So how much time in the air does it take to get to Romania? It's kind of a fun question. Some people say, well, how long does it take? So in the air, it takes 12 hours actually to get to Romania. Usually we fly into a hub in Europe somewhere, Amsterdam, London, Rome, Paris, somewhere like that. We'll stay there for a couple hours for a layover before we take our final flight into Bucharest. So usually it's about 8 hours initial flight, maybe another 3 hours. So it's probably closer to 11 hours than 12 hours. So it does take a while to get there, but it's fun, especially if you haven't traveled overseas before. It's always fun to see new countries and some things like that. So the primary language spoken in Romania, what do you think it is? Is it Hungarian, English, French, Romanian? Well, actually, it is Romanian. They do have a Romanian language. It's a Romance language, so it's very much like Spanish. Matter of fact, a lot of the words that I hear spoken in Romania sound very much like Spanish. So if you know Spanish, you might have a heads up on, or a leg up on some of the other people who don't. But we always use interpreters. We have translators that do a great job of translating everything we do over there. Many of the kids, once they hit high school age, even in junior high age, 12, 13, 14, start to learn English. But a lot of high school kids know it pretty well. So you can converse with those children. But some of the younger kids, we use translators. So one of my favorite Romanian foods, because usually food is one of the biggest questions we have. What are the foods like over there? So these are just a simple question. What is my favorite Romanian food? Pate, and there's a funny story behind that. I'm not a pate fan, but I was encouraged to try it, and I wish I hadn't. It's still not very good in my mind. But the other three are the ever-present chicken. There's a lot of chicken and pork served in Romania. The fresh baked bread or cabbage salad. And actually the answer there is the fresh baked bread. I love their bread over in Romania. They bring it to the table before each meal, and I seem to eat more of that than I need. But the food is very good. Usually no problems at all with the food. So what is the capital of Romania? A lot of people might not know this. These are all cities in Romania. They all got their uniqueness about them, but actually the capital of Romania is Bucharest. It's in the southern region of the country. Cluj is probably the second most. It's probably the most progressive outside of Bucharest city in the country. Timișoara is a city where the revolution in 1989 started, so a lot of people might know that. And Târgu-Mureș is another one. That's kind of where we're located. That's where our headquarters in Romania is. They call it TM. So in TM, it's really right in the middle of the Transylvania region of Romania, so right in north-central Romania. The fabled Count Dracula, portrayed in Bram Stoker's famous tale, is actually based on which Romanian ruler? His name was actually Vlad Tepes, also known as Vlad the Impaler. If you need a little bit more information, I suggest just go on to Google, type in Vlad the Impaler, and you'll find out all his story about how he ruled Romania at one time. Actually, he loved Romania, and the impaling of people come by people who did treason against the country. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about that, but Vlad Tepes is actually a actual ruler, and the legend of Dracula was based on his rule in Romania. So which mountains run through the center of the country? You got different mountain ranges over there in Europe, the Balkans, the Carpathians, the Pyrenees. Actually, it's the Carpathian Mountains run right through the middle of Romania. It's a beautiful, it's kind of like the Smoky Mountains. I kind of mentioned that earlier. It's a beautiful part of the country, and we spend a lot of time there. You'll really enjoy the sightseeing and some of the things associated with the Carpathian Mountains. So you'll enjoy those. So what does Tim have most trouble with in Romania? So a lot of times they say, well, what are the challenges? And these are some of the challenges that we have. Speaking the language, saying goodbye each time, sleeping while I'm there, or nothing. And it's not nothing. It's actually a little bit of all three of these. Sleeping, it's the 8-hour time difference. So you're 8 hours ahead in Romania. Saying goodbye to the children each time can be difficult, but when you travel over there, once, twice, 3 times a year, you're really not saying goodbye. You're saying see you later. So for me personally, saying goodbye is not that difficult anymore, but speaking the language is my biggest problem over there. Maybe if you're a younger person going on the trip, for some reason your brains have the ability to absorb a foreign language. Me being in my 50s, my brain isn't absorbing any foreign languages at this point. So I really struggle with speaking the language over there. So while I learn words and I can pick up phrases and stuff that they're speaking in Romanian, it's just the language is spoken so much quicker than how I learn it. So I really struggle with speaking the language, but it's a beautiful language though. So from left to right, what colors make up the Romanian flag? I'm not even sure. I think it's blue, yellow, and red. I had to actually look at the flag here in my office. Yeah, so it's blue, yellow, red. Kids in the Point of Hope Center. So in the at our base camp in Romania, we have a school called the Point of Hope Development Center, which 140 kids are registered at the school. Usually about 20 of them are in a kindergarten program, so they don't come on a regular basis. So typically every day we have about 120 children that come to our school each and every day from the ages of 3 through 14. 3 years of preschool, clear through the 8th grade. And it's just a delight to go over there and see these kids each and every time. So how many years has Another Child Foundation been sending mission teams to Romania? So we've been doing this for a while. And the answer is 13. This is our 13th year we've been doing this. Probably sent over 45 teams, probably 500-600 different people have went to Romania with us. Yeah, so this isn't our first rodeo, I guess. Number 4 says this is the first. No, we've been doing this for a while. We know the mission trips, and we feel very confident that our mission trips are something we do very well. Once again, Romania is really a safe country. So once you get into Romania, the diversity there is there's not a lot of diversity. There's no, the reason I say that is there's really no civil wars or anything like that happening within the country. It's very safe. Um, so once you get to Romania, I mean, the safety, while it's always a top concern of ours, there's really no threat of anything like that currently. So take away the fear of that, and uh, yeah. So we've been doing this a while, and Romania is a very safe country. So the theme for this year for our mission trips, while each individual team will have its own theme based on this, but our theme for 2019 is really to focus on making him fully known, making God fully known to the children we're going to go to serve and the families that we serve. So making him fully known, so they know of him, um, but we need to have them follow him. They need to become disciples. So this is the next step in our discipleship campaign. So some of the frequently asked questions that we have uh, for this, we're going to start diving into that right now. Sorry for the delay there. So some of the more frequently asked questions that we have, besides what we had there in the trivia questions, was like, who's in charge of the team? That's usually the first question. So basically, it's Another Child Foundation's job is to get all the team trainings done, do all the logistical work here, get you guys to the airport. But really, once we land in Romania, we kind of turn the reins over to the Romanian staff there. They have a missions coordinator there that'll, of course, pick us up, take us through sightseeing, do the translating. Well, kind of once we kind of land in Romania, we kind of turn it over to the Fundația Buckner staff, and because they know the country better than we do, so they make sure that we remain safe and do things like that. So will I be safe? Of course, I've talked about this a little bit. There's always some amount of risk when you travel overseas, but we take every precaution to make it the safest trip possible. We always consult state travel advisories with the in-ground staff, and just to be cautious, we always just pray for God's wisdom and guidance. And but there always is a little bit of risk. But there's risk when you go to Chicago or any major city, or even in our smaller towns. There's risk by just different things that are happening in this world. Um, what if I get sick? What if I get sick on the trip? It's not a third world country; it's a developing country. So it does have hospitals, and right there in the two cities in which we'll be going to, there's major hospitals right there. So if there's anything where X-rays are needed or anything like that, we'll make sure that you get the proper care. So you're not going to a third world country. But most of the things that we deal with are stomach issues, digestive issues, those types of things, jet lag, motion sickness. So those things can be taken with over-the-counter drugs. Majority, I think we've had one person in our time we had to take to the hospital to just get dehydrated. They did an IV with her, and she recovered pretty quickly. So what if I get sick on the trip? That's not going to be an issue. We should be able to take care of you with not a problem. Do you need shots for the trip or vaccinations? There's nothing required. The Center of Disease Control does not have any required vaccinations by going to Romania. So that's not an issue, but we always encourage each one of you to visit your doctor. Your doctor knows your medical state better than we ever will. So visit with them and just tell them what you're doing, and let them go through anything that they might request or suggest to you. The one thing we do say, though, is that it would be good to, I'm not going to say work out and get into shape, but there's quite a bit of walking done on our sightseeing and stuff. So maybe by walking some stairs, walking some steps, a few weeks before you go, just kind of get toned up a little bit, because there is a little bit of walking. Nothing real physical or anything like that, but walking, it might be good to do some walking and kind of get your legs into shape if you're not used to walking stairs. What will the weather be like in Romania? Well, when we visit, it's very much like Illinois weather. That's where I'm based, here in Illinois. If you're from down south, it might be a little bit different than your typical weather. But Romania weather is very much like our upper Midwest weather. So in the winter, you'll get plenty of snow, and it's cold, below freezing a lot of times. But in the summer, it gets into the mid 80s. Uh, in some of the mountainous areas, a day of 80 degrees, sunny is about as warm as it gets. But it's been known to get into the low 90s too. So it's very much like upper Midwest weather. Um, I would suggest in the summer that you would take a light jacket for the evenings, but most of the times it's shorts and t-shirts during the day. On the fall trips or winter trips, if you're going over there, we always suggest just dress in layers. But you'll have plenty of advance notice when you can look at the Weather Channel, the weather on your phones and stuff to get that information. So how old do you got to be to go on a trip with ACF? We suggest 12 years old minimum, and if you're under 16, you need to be traveling with a guardian. But we always do that on a case-by-case basis. What will I be doing on the trip? I like to think relationship building is probably the most important thing we do. While we do some projects on these trips, our mission trips are really much more focused on relationship building rather than project oriented. So bonds form quickly with these kids. So they're very open to what you want to share with them. So we just request that you share Christ's love that's grabbed your heart, and just pray with these children. So really relationship building is a primary thing we do. Once again, we get to the next question of what will I eat and where will I stay? Usually we stay at U.S. based hotels. So they're not quite as modern, but they're very clean. Yeah, they're pretty standard hotels. Once again, not third world country. They might not be quite as fancy as some of the U.S. hotels, but very good, very clean. The beds and the pillows are typically a little bit harder here in the U.S., but I always seem to sleep well for the most part. Besides the time change, sometimes it's hard to go to sleep when your body says it's time to be, getting up. And then as far as the food, there's a lot of chicken, pork, potatoes, fish. The food has never really been an issue. If you are going on a camp trip, sometimes we can't control the food that's served at camps. So we always request to people to maybe pack some granola bars and some chips and things like that. And you'll have opportunities to do some shopping for those things in Romania also. The final question as far as frequently asked questions is, how do I communicate back home? Very easy. Romania is pretty much a wireless country, so whenever you go into too many people, too many restaurants or stuff like that, hotels, wireless is good. We suggest that whenever we're doing ministry that we put our phones away. Maybe if you want to take some pictures, that's one thing, but if to communicate back home, posting on Facebook, Instagram, any social media, we try to do that more on our downtime. So really that is it with our frequently asked questions. The last thing I want to kind of go over is the trip information and the budgets. Each trip is different. Typically, we can get our land costs narrowed down pretty quickly. Typically, land costs will run anywhere from $1,300 to $1,600, and that is all of your lodging, your food, your sightseeing, almost everything that you would need to take care of is all taken care of. Our trips are always inclusive. So if you paid all the money up front and you got on the plane with $1 in your pocket, you could come home with $1 in your pocket. So all of those things, transportation, sightseeing, all of those things I mentioned are all paid for. The only thing we really don't pay for is any extra spending, like shopping for souvenirs, which you'll have those opportunities. Typically, we tell people $50 to $100 is probably more than enough for those types of shopping. Maybe grabbing an ice cream or something like that on your own. But all the foods and meals and stuff like that are covered within the budget. So usually, let's just say $1,400 to $1,600 there. And the second cost is the airfare. We go ahead and book airfare for you. if you want us to. If you want to book your own, we're okay with that. We just try to get the schedules and the flights so they're very, very similar. But if you have travel miles or something you want to use, you're more than welcome to use those. But we try to book all the airfare ourselves. Um, and typically airfare can run anywhere from $800 to $1,400, depending on the time of the year and the year. But I would say generally $1,200 might be a good estimate for airfare. Typically, they've been maybe a little bit lower than that recently, last couple of years, but we've paid $1,400 for airfare in the past too. Uh, so I would say $2,500 to $2,600 might be the average cost. Once again, those are all inclusive. Um, and it really depends on trip to trip. Whatever trip you're looking at, the prices may change. One other thing I just want to say about the trip info and budget is when you do an application, um, there's $350 due at that time, and then 90 days before your trip. So example, if you're going in July, then in April, the second payment, that's typically we buy airfare 3 months in advance. And then, so 90 days before your trip date is the second payment. So you got the first payment is the deposit, second payment is $1,250, and that is due 90 days in advance. And the last payment, which will be the balance of your account, is due 30 days in advance of your trip. Fundraising ideas, we share with you all kinds of different fundraising ideas. It's kind of fun, unique to see how different people fundraise. Some people don't need to fundraise. Some people just pay for the trips themselves. But I would say the majority of our people do some type of fundraising. So we got all kinds of ideas to kind of help you with that. We don't actually execute the fundraising. You guys will have to do that. But we'll be more than glad to share with you any fundraising ideas that we've seen and to kind of help you raise the support. Sometimes we'll give a sample letter out of like an appeal letter that you can send out to friends and family. A lot of people do that and raise money, $50 or $100 at a time through family and friends. That's the way I did my original trip. Just do those friends and family requesting, sharing with them what God has on my heart to do, and people respond. Passports is the other thing. There's two things on passports. If you are planning on going, you need to apply for a passport if you don't have one. The other thing you need to do, and you can do that through a lot of local post offices will do that. Sometimes it is your city halls. There's just an application process. You need to get your pictures taken. Sometimes you can go to a Walmart or a Walgreens to get those pictures taken. I think they're like $7 to get the pictures taken, and there's an application process in which you pay somewhere around $100 to get the passport application processed. Usually you can get that back in 3 to 4 weeks. I would request doing it 6 weeks in advance to give you time. Make sure you have time to get your passport, and you'll need your passport 30 days in advance. The second thing about passports is if you currently have one, you need to look at your expiration date on your passport, and if it is within 3 months of your departure date. So let's just say, for example, you're leaving on June 1st. If your passport expires by September 1st, then you won't be allowed to travel. So there's a 3-month time frame in there that they just don't allow people to travel on an expiring passport. We had a young girl, I was just going through passports, looking at them, and I noticed about a week before the trip that her passport was going to be expiring while she was on the trip. She thought she was going to be fine since it was still good when she got on the plane. So she had to go to Chicago and get it expedited. So that's another thing you need to look at is your current passport. Make sure it will not expire within 3 months of the time which you depart. So really the action items, we're coming right down to the final slide here. Trip applications, you can go to our website. You can go to different places on our website. It's very easy to figure out You can see an apply now. It's a simple Google form. You fill in a few questions. That kind of reserves your spot. And then once you get the $350 deposit in, you can do that online too. If you choose, you can send us a check, however you want to do that. Then once you have the application and the deposit in, then and we approve the application, then your spot is pretty much secured, and excuse me, and then it'll be time to look at your passport and get that process going there. Really, that is it. That's kind of all the thing I wanted to cover with this meeting. I just want to say thank you for your time. Mulțumesc is thank you in Romanian. So that's your first Romanian word. If you're new to Romanian, mulțumesc, which is thank you for your time. All right, I would just like to say thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you soon on a mission trip. Thank you.